So I had posted on Facebook. I said we want to talk about the things you must discuss with your clients who are thinking about buying or selling in 2021. I don't know about you, but the term 2021 sounds like super in the future, even though we're knocking on that door. So what we kind of want to talk about first is timelines. And what I mean by timelines is that 99% of the people that you'd be talking to right now, even if they're interested in buying or selling, are not looking to necessarily do it this moment, right? It's your job to uncover the urgency and the why. But many people are going to say after the new year or in the spring or after the kids are out of school, right? Which is crazy to think about, but that's not until like June of 2021. And a normal, a bad agent or just a lackadaisical agent would do what? They'd probably make a note for themselves.
They'd say, okay, I'll talk to you then.
Exactly.
Cool. I'll call you in a few months.
Exactly. And if they even remembered to.
Right.
And what's going to happen between now and then, Sharon? What could happen?
Someone else who might have systems set up and are better at their follow-up would say, that's great. There's a lot of things we should probably talk about before then. Can I call you back next week? And then they call them back next week and they educate them and provide value on all sorts of things about the process and the timeline. And all of a sudden they're pulling them further and closer through their pipeline. And by the time you call them back, they're already in bed with somebody else. You lost.
Or they don't do anything and they, continue to kind of peruse houses online or on an app, or maybe even visit open houses, and then, find a home or meet an agent that can help them, that it does exactly what Sharon just said. So we just want to kind of talk about, that conversation, right? And then work backwards to say, what would you say? How do you say it? And how do you go about it? What's your plan? Okay. Because this is very pertinent to right now. Our real estate market is cyclical. What does that mean? It goes like this, right? And there's a variety of reasons it goes like that. I think many parts of the country go like that, even those that don't have crappy weather like us. But there's different reasons that are different motivators for people to buy and sell at different periods of time. Right? There's things that always happen, such as job transfers, divorces, those kinds of babies being born, that kind of thing. But then there's also other things such as mindset shifts, or just people want to bring about, many sellers want to sell in the spring because that's when they think all the buyers will come out of the woodwork, right? Which also means that's when all the other sellers go on the market. So Sharon, let's pretend I am someone and I express some sort of interest or I say something over the holidays about buying or wanting to buy next year. Let's kind of role play kind of how that conversation could play out. Okay. And just talk about it.
Okay. So I would say, oh, really? That's cool. It's a great time to buy. Money's like super cheap. You should be able to have a lot of purchasing power. Where are you thinking about going?
Well, my wife and I really, this pandemic has locked us in our house, and we really realized we just don't have enough space. So we'd like to stay in the area. Really, we just want a little bit larger of a home, but we're not thinking till like next year.
That's actually very common. I'll tell you that the wants of new buyers we have seen this past year have really changed and revolve around office space for like both spouses and schoolwork, right?
Yeah.
People need a cubby, they need a place. I mean, I'm hearing that a lot.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about waiting until when? Did you say spring?
Well, we don't really want to do anything until the weather's better. Probably the kids are out of school because moving is a hassle. So we'll probably, I know that you're a real estate agent. We'll probably connect with you, sometime like maybe around Easter.
Okay.
Because that's when we think, probably get started.
Okay. So ideally, if you could like wave a magic wand,
Yeah.
you would like to like move it once the kids are out of school, right? So let's say June 15th.
Yeah. I would love to be in our new home to enjoy the summer.
Got it. So that last half of June or somewhere right there, you'd like to actually be in a new place. Okay.
Yep.
That's cool. So, what I would say is in a perfect scenario, if you listed your house and you got an offer on day one and nothing went wrong and everything was great. If you look at, let's say, June 1st as a closing day, right? Selling your house.
Okay.
You go back 45 days from that, because that's the process from once you get an offer until you close, just on average.
Okay.
45 days back gets you to like April 15th.
Okay. So
Right.
we would need a signed agreement on April 15th.
Day one. Yep.
Oh.
If you were to list it on April 15th, day one, that's like best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
So like the average days on market for your area that you're talking about is about 32 days. I know you're hearing online everywhere that stuff's like selling in a day, and there are lots of houses that do sell in a day, but on average, they sit there for about 32 days ish, right?
Okay.
So even let's say we accept that average is what's going to happen. So now you're at April 15th. Now you got to go back to March 15th, right? So if you list on March 15th and you are in that average, you'll have an offer. It'll be 45 days to close. You close on your house by June 1st, right? So really looking out into the future and saying, oh, we're going to wait till the summer, it's actually really right around the corner. There might be some things you want to clean up in your house.
We have
I can come over.
Yeah, we have to. I think we have to get some paint, some touch up. There's some stuff we have to do. So
I'm happy to stop by if you want, like after New Year's, and kind of give you an idea of what I think is worth putting time and effort into it, and what you just might need to clean up, and you'll be okay with it. Yeah. And then we can just kind of chat about the timeline a little bit more and just go from there. How's that sound?
Yeah. So if I wanted to list on March 15th, what do I have to do before that? I mean, what else do you need to lead up to that?
So if you were to list on March 15th, we would need to take photos, right? So we would want to do that probably March, between the 1st and the 15th, like between the 5th and the 10th, like something like that, right? Okay. So we all know that when we set goals, things get stretched out a couple of days. So like if in your mind, you're going to have your house list ready on March 1st, that would probably be a good idea. So then before that, we're going to want to get paperwork signed and do some, different things like that. So you can like enjoy your holiday, and then, in the new year, kind of hit the ground running. We can meet, we can make a list of some things that you might need to take care of. And then over those 45 to 60 days, tie up all those loose ends and those bows and those repairs, and then jump on the market, and then don't worry about where you're going to go next, right? Because there are a lot of creative ways to deal with that too. We can ask for occupancy, which gives you extra time if you don't find what you want right away, but we can talk about all that when we sit down. I mean, it's a lot of information that I don't want to overwhelm you with.
Okay. The gist of what I'm hearing though, is that although I thought that I wouldn't really address this until next spring, based on your timeline, I really have 60 days.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. It creeps up a lot quicker than you think.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll call you. We'll get together sometime, maybe first week of June or July. I'm sorry, January.
Yes.
Cool. Perfect.
Sounds great.
I'll call you like on the 2nd or 3rd or something like that.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
All right.
Hey, Sharon.
Yes.
Can I co-list Matt's house with you?
Sure. Sure.
You got to do it for a discount.
So I have to tell you, I have this exact situation going on right now. I have a client who I sold a house to in March. We actually closed 2 days before the shutdown. He just got transferred. He's got a great promotion. He's moving to Columbus, and he doesn't want to move until the kids get out of school, which is June. And so we started talking, and I'm like, you have to have your house on the market mid-March. And it's exactly what we're talking about right now. And actually our conversation is, when are the trees going to fill in? Because there's a property right behind him that's really ugly. And we're like, well, maybe if the leaves, he goes, that was our only concern with this house. If we can like list it when the leaves fill in, no one will notice. And I'm like, okay.
So any ahas from that conversation? Does that seem realistic?
It does seem realistic. I'm actually working with 2 clients at the moment. One doesn't, she's not getting pre-approved until January. And my other client wants to wait until February. I constantly keep following up with them just to, even for Thanksgiving, I was like, hey, happy Thanksgiving, just to kind of keep myself fresh in their minds. Mm-hmm. I guess for me, because I am a spanking brand new agent, I don't want to be super, super pushy, but I'm also letting them know like time is of the essence. And I guess my question is, once they get their pre-approval, do I need a copy of it? Like, how do I go about it? How do I start the process is where I'm at right now.
I would start quickly with setting them up on a search on the MLS. Have you done that yet?
Yes, I have. And I actually went back to the how to build a perfect CMA. That was amazing. It's really helping a lot to get a better concept of it. So I have been working on MLS and looking. I've been sending them houses just to kind of say, hey, this is what's out there, if you're interested, kind of thing. So exactly. I've been kind of creeping up on them a little bit. I just don't want to be overly pushy, but I guess that's where I'm at.
Are these people that have a home to sell and a home to buy?
No.
Okay, they're just buyers. Okay.
They're just buyers.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's important for, basically what Sharon just did, that role play that we kind of just said, is opening up the door to a listing appointment, right? It was
for a buyer's appointment.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, she was basically like soft closing. I'm going to come over and we're just going to talk about paperwork and talk about the process. And there's lots of other details, but I'm not going to overwhelm you now. I'll give you a call. There's added kind of elements to it when it's a buy and a sell. If it's simply a buy, Helen, yeah. Yes, you need a copy of the pre-approval. Okay. In fact, I would call the lender. I would be in touch with the lender and I would say, I would ask questions right now, such as, do you foresee any, is there any issues? Have you reviewed everything? Do you need this year's tax return in order to qualify for them? And that's an important element, guys, because depending on how, so depending on how someone's qualifications go, they might need their W-2 from the end of this year. And that might not get to them until, I think they legally have it through February to give it.
It used to be January 30th. But
if someone needs 2020 tax returns, because a lot of self-employed people need tax returns, that means you've got to get your 1099, you've got to get your accountant to finish those and file those. So just understanding, again, the things that you think that you're going to be able to do January 1 might not happen. Okay. So part of the conversation is really a buyer consultation so that you're on the same page with what that time frame looks like and what they expect. Sometimes buyers don't realize that if we started searching January 1st and we found the perfect house and we put an offer and it was accepted and we got, you got possession at closing, it still would be probably 45
March
days.
1st,
right?
Yeah.
Understanding how that works. Are you in a lease? Do you have the ability to go month to month? All of those questions need to be asked. But I think between now and then, I mean, that's not too far out. I know as an anxious agent, you're trying to, you want them to start now. Sometimes understanding their time frame and just being okay with it is the most important thing. And then keeping that touch, which is exactly what you said. Sending them properties. I like to let people know what's going on in the market. So I send them kind of stats like, hey, in January, let's summarize the previous year, the previous month. This is what happened, and this is what we're going to see when we go to look at houses, right? So I'm prepping them to show them in your price point in your area, things have been going relatively quickly. So FYI, that's really all you can do. Get a buyer's agreement signed
until they get their pre-approval.
Yeah. The most important thing is the pre-approval, because then, that they're good to go, or they've got to work on some certain things.
Okay.
This is also going to dovetail into something else that Matt and I are going to be discussing today. about
Okay.
creating opportunities for yourself.
Okay.
So for some people, guys, these days and concepts and stuff like that, because we do it every day and we talk about it, it's just a jumble. So if need be, write it out, draw it out. Right? I'm a visual person. I like visuals, and some people will be able to see, that a little bit better. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff on this. Sharon, do you?
What are we doing?
Know how
I
to
was
do a
answering the
whiteboard?
chat. Oh, yes, I do.
Kind of how to kind of lay that out. Doug, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did originally. I was just going to
Yeah.
say what I did because I have a buyer that has a poor credit and it's not going to be up until probably February.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't get the pre-approval yet, but I still took her out yesterday to kind of show her what her money can buy.
Okay.
Giving her an idea, knowing that, hey, these houses that we're looking at are going to be gone by the time you look. But
Sure.
I just wanted her to get an understanding of what her amount is and what it can afford. So
Okay.
it might have been a waste of time, but
Well, that's up to you, right? That's your choice if you want to do that. And
If
that's
you've
fine.
got the time to do now, you're getting some practice. You're
that's
prepping
the
them.
way I looked at it is I was getting practice as well and getting an idea of that neighborhood anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
For myself, but
Okay.
If you have a client who hasn't been pre-approved yet, because I have kind of the same situation, my lady can't do anything until June, so she's in a lease. I mean, obviously the houses that are on the market now aren't going to be there in 6 months, but I don't even know what she's pre-approved for yet because she's still in the process. So how do I know like what to show her? Because I don't want to show her a $300,000 house if her budget's 180 or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't show her anything yet.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
yeah, my client actually did go to get the pre-approval first, and then that's when they said that, hey, you have to wait until February. So
Yeah, and
she
I
already
did,
knows what she can afford.
yeah, I did put her in touch with Brent. I know she has some credit issues as well. So I kind of I reached out to her yesterday. Just said, hey, I know she went to Chicago for her birthday, so just want to make sure or check on how your weekend was, and if you had any questions, just following up. And she didn't call me back, but I never really said, you have to call me back or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think maybe I'll wait till the beginning of next week and then reach out to her again.
Yeah.
And just kind of see what conversation her and Brent had, like just talk about her credit and how long it's going to take to repair that. And so that's my plan.
Keep in mind, just on that note, right? There's conditions and then there's objections. Conditions are things that you can't really overcome. Like if someone's not relocating here for a job until June, they can't really buy a house before then, right? Maybe they can look if they're in town, but it's a condition. If someone can't get a loan yet because they haven't, the credit needs to come up or this, that, whatever, that's a condition, right? An objection is something that you can potentially overcome. And I just want you to think about that in terms of solutions and things such as, in this case, you just said she's got a lease through June. I don't know what her lease amount is per month, but if I use the same timeline that Sharon and I just discussed, assuming that she can get that pre-approval in the new year, you could start searching. And if you found a home that worked, that seller may need or want 30, 60 days of occupancy, right? Mm-hmm. So you find a home February 1st, close on it March 15th, 60 days of occupancy takes you to April, May. You might be only saying that you got to double pay a mortgage, or not double pay, but you got to pay rent for 1 month before your lease is up. And FYI, if you close in April, your first payment isn't due until June 1st, right? And usually with a lot of leases, you've paid your last month's rent, or it's, it can be taken out of your security deposit, or maybe you can get a seller concession that will help offset out of cost pocket expenses. So anyways, point is, try to use this kind of timeline exercise in all situations, not just I don't want to move, it's I can't move, right? Because of a lease or this, that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I also always ask them to call their landlord and find out, just why not? The more information you have, the better. What would it cost to get out of the lease early? Sometimes it's minimal, or they let them out anyway.
Or how about this? If I'm a landlord right? And I've got a tenant whose lease is coming up, and I know that they don't want to renew, right? As a smart landlord, I'm probably going to say, okay, great. In my mind, I could probably re-rent this house for more than what they're paying because rents are probably up. Also, what do I want to minimize? I want to minimize vacancy. So if I say, hey, you've told me that you're not renewing your lease, which is fine. If you let me show the home, right, while you're still in it, you keep it good condition, you let me show it, and I get someone who can move in right after you're out, I'll give you a break, or I'll give you this, or I'll do that. You know what I mean? Right? We're not talking about institutional landlords. We're talking about usually mom and pop, but it's worth noting because a lot of and having that conversation. Conversely, let's say someone's lease is up in a crappy month. A landlord doesn't want to refill a property in a month that's hard to, find.
Matt, I don't know about others, but I don't see anything on the shared screen.
Well, not yet. You see that?
Okay. All right. Oh, yes.
Okay. So write out for the visual aspects of it. How would you write out something so someone could understand kind of that timeline and be able to articulate?
Okay. So let's say you're talking to a client. It's easy to use the school timeline date, right? Because you'll probably hit that a lot. So someone says to you, I don't want to move until the kids get out of school. Right? Okay. So that's June 15th, right? Does that make sense? That's a decent number. So then if you go backwards, right? 45 days, that takes you to what?
To close.
Working
May
backwards.
1st.
May 1st, right? That is if you list it, you get an offer day one, everything goes great, everything closes perfectly, it's a dream. Bam. How often does that happen?
And this is in the buy or the sell side?
This is listing.
Got it.
Listing,
Yep.
right? So then I would say, the average days on market for your area is 30 days, right? So let's talk about, assume.
And
go
how
ahead.
would you know? Just quick question. Where
Okay.
did you get that information?
You get that information on the MLS. There is a section called market stats and fast stats, which Matt's in love with. It's like his baby. He knows it inside and out. And you can find average days on market by price range, by zip code, all sorts of different things. Like, I think even like type of house, you can really drill down.
Yeah.
You want, right? Pretty well. So then I would tell these people, okay, if you're average, your house is going to be listed on April 1st. You'll have an offer by May 1st, and then we can close by June 15th, right? So what needs to happen before you go live? Well, we need to take pictures, right? So I would schedule the pictures March 20th. You think that's fair, Matt?
Sure. But I also need staging.
Well, yeah, but
Before the photos, I need stuff done, right?
before, right. So then you get here. So before the photos though.
Because you
want to make sure
can't
the house is all ready.
pre-market until you have photos.
Correct. So maybe we should make the photos. Oh, this won't let me edit that. What the heck? There we go. Maybe we should do the photos March 15th. So by the time you get them back, you have a good 2 weeks to be able to do some pre-marketing, make flyers, like get your plan together, right?
Yep.
So what has to happen before photos? The place has to look nice.
Yes.
So that would be.
Yep. I need
You know,
staging. I need
what else do we call it?
I need to do I need you to tell me what I need to do to prep
Staging
it.
and prep,
Yep.
right? Which would be,
I'm busy. I need probably at least a few weeks to do that stuff.
right? So I'm going to give you a month because we all work You do too, Mr. Seller. You guys have kids. You know, you may need to maybe paint or
Well, I don't have time and I'm not a good painter, so I need to hire that out. And I've heard
Okay.
everyone's really busy right now, so I probably have to get on the calendar.
right. So people, you're right. Contractors are like 4 or 5 weeks out, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky. So it would be a good idea for you to schedule all those people by like January 10th ish to make sure they can get in by the 15th, get everything done. So
So what
You know?
started as 6 months is really like,
less
hey,
than a week or
we
less than a
gotta
month.
talk. We gotta talk right after the new year.
So, and before you start doing all that stuff, we need to get together. We need to talk about the process. We need to get some paper signed, answer any questions you have. So, you know, how about if we just make an appointment and start the whole ball rolling on the 5th,
Now,
right?
Sharon, let me just try to poke a hole in this. Let me just
Go
play
for it.
devil's advocate. Let's say we do all of that first stuff, right? We get the staging, we get the prep, we get the. Let's say it doesn't take us 30 days to get an offer. Let's say we get one day one. I don't want to have to move sooner than that. I mean,
So the fantastic thing and the advantage that you have because we're in a seller's market
mhm.
is you can dictate some of the conditions for the sale of your house. And one of those conditions can be occupancy. So if you
What
know
does that mean?
so that in essence means that you're living in your house beyond the closing date. So depending on the contract and how it's written, either you are renting the house from the new buyers, right? You'll pay them a daily rate, or
Okay.
as we negotiate it, you can get that time for free.
Okay, so if we were to get an offer right away and close on May 15th, I could potentially stay in my house for another 30 days
Yep.
until June 15th and either pay a daily rate or maybe even free.
Yeah, or maybe a couple weeks free and you just pay for the last 2 weeks, something like that. We can arrange that.
Awesome. But it's all negotiable.
Correct. It's all about being creative and creating a situation that's a win-win for everybody, because in a seller's market, that buyer wants your house. There's not a lot of inventory on there.
Mm.
So they're going to be flexible with you. How does
Does
this
this-
sound?
It sounds great. Does it help everyone else? Does anyone have any questions? And this is not, let me just say this. This is not, this isn't far-fetched, and it's not unique to the time period we're in right now. I talked about this because specifically this is the type of year where people just have a lot of things on their plate and they want to kick it off. But this is the type of conversation that you can have any time of the year. That's why it's super important to qualify your clients, to understand when it is that they want to be in, when they just, you know, 'cause some people don't know. If you've never bought a home, especially, you go out and see a rental, you can get the keys next week.
Yeah, they don't realize how long it takes.
No,
They don't.
no.
Like, what do you mean I can't move in next month? You can't.
Yeah. Well, unless you have a big sack of cash and this house is vacant and the sellers want to hand over the keys, sure.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, excuse me, January 5th, when we get the process rolling, is that when you would get the contract signed?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's
Because
talk
we've
about.
all been burned. Most agents have all been burned with starting, either taking pictures or doing something and putting some money, and then the seller flakes out. And the first thing that happens, you're like, never again. I'm never doing it again.
Me. I was referred by a client. I went over there. It was one of those 2-step listing processes. Divorcee, all of her nest egg was tied up in this house. She was very hesitant, very leery, lots of questions. I held her hand. I allowed her to review the paperwork. In the meantime, I helped with staging. I scheduled photography and videography. I spent $1,200 on the marketing preparation for the home. And I said, listen, the only thing I need left is this paperwork. And she said, Matt, after dodging my calls for a bit, she said, Matt, I've found a buyer. I actually called a real estate agent that had sold a house on the lake, and I asked him if he had any buyers, and he said he did, and he came over and he made an offer, and I really have to get every dollar out of this home that I can. And you know what? If I would have had a listing agreement, that would have happened. I would have said, that's awesome. You owe me 3%. Instead, I went against my better judgment and moved forward in good faith and was out that money. And, you know, unfortunately, it was a lesson learned for me. I'll never make that again. And that's worst case scenario because I actually spent money, but there's countless times that I know agents in our office and other offices have just put in, not necessarily spent money, but put in work, you know, hours, consulting, talking, this and that, only to get burned. And it's because they looked at this timeline as, oh, if we're not listing till March 15th or April 1st, that's when I need to get the paperwork signed. You can get the document signed today and put on the purchase or on the actual date that you're going to be listing, right, in the future. Yeah. But the important thing is getting the agreement signed today. So you are obligated a commission, or you know, it can't be really taken from you, if you will.
And they feel obligated to you as well. So
Exactly.
they're less likely to answer, you know.
Because when someone starts talking about selling their house or making efforts to do it, they start talking about it. And then before you know it, they told their mom that they're moving. And then the mom says, oh, she told a friend, and the friend's like, oh yeah, my son's looking for a house. You know, would you like to go? Yeah. And then all of a sudden they come over and they say, oh my gosh, we love the house. We'd give you this amount of money. And they're all thinking we're saving a bunch of money, but not having any real estate commissions involved. They don't know the first thing what to do, but it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens. Or a really aggressive agent, like we'll talk about in a second, is knocking on doors saying, I've got a buyer. They've missed out on 3 houses in this neighborhood and they really want to buy here. You don't happen to be selling. And a matter of fact, I am preparing my house to sell. Great. Would you mind if I brought my buyers by? That seller's thinking, of course not. Come on over. Before you know it, they've presented an offer. You're out. And no, you're not owed a commission because you have nothing signed. Make sense?
Yes. I just have a quick question about the staging.
Yes, ma'am.
If they're planning on moving in June, when you say stage, do you mean with their furniture, or you're actually hiring a staging company to move their stuff out?
Typically, when I talk about staging, I don't get it confused with one of those TV shows that absolutely removes everything that the people own and brings in all this high-end stuff. What I typically mean when I'm doing staging prep is looking at a property through the eyes of a buyer, walking around and giving the sellers advice of how to rearrange things, what to remove, what to declutter, what to add if necessary. But 9 times out of 10, it's removing things, putting them away, packing them away. It's not necessarily like this whole show. Have I brought in a professional stager? Yes. Most of the time just for a consultation, right? Sometimes to actual do pieces, but that's not necessarily typical. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. It's really just to give your sellers, because they don't know what to do. They whether or not they say it or ask it or not, they're looking for your advice, right? And if you don't give that to them, right, and then you get feedback after feedback that something is awry that you could have addressed, they're going to say, well, why didn't you tell us that? Why didn't you tell us then that we should really paint that ugly purple wall because all these people seem to hate it, right? So whether or not they do it or not, and it's really with bedside manner, but you should be telling them what's going to do to get the most money in the quickest amount of time for their home. That's your job.
Also, like I did you guys happen to see a Facebook live that I did 10 days ago, where I was walking through a condo that needs to be fixed up?
Yeah.
So I only did that just to put something on my page and just to try and get some action as far as making it live. But I have people who are selling this condo that's a rental. And so I went through it and they asked me for my assessment. And I ended up writing them this long email and I split it up into sections. And I said, ideal, bam, bam, like, bam, 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 bam. And then at a minimum, you got to do this, boom, boom, boom. So it's in writing, do you have the appetite to put this much into it? This would be great. If this is the minimal thing that you want to do, then you can do this, right? But it's on paper and they can look at it and it becomes up to them how much they want to do.
Exactly.
Okay, I got a question for you, because that's not typically something I would do. Who pays for like the initial staging consultation?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I pay for I really in my listings I pay for everything.
And a lot of times if you have a good relationship with stagers, they might just give you that initial consultation anyway.
Yeah. Now, Matt, you say do you pay for the staging also?
Depending on the cost. I have, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Or I have some sort of agreement that says that they will, and I'll reimburse them once I sell the home, or some sort of other creative way to minimize my exposure.
And it depends on the price of the home that you're staging. And like,
Exactly.
is it worth it, right? It's a math thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Would you guys always stage a vacant home or not necessarily?
No. No. There's things such as virtual staging, which doesn't it's basically superimposing furniture into pictures. It doesn't change the actual physical nature of when someone comes through. But if it's a run of the mill home, I don't think it necessarily needs to be done. Now, there are some properties that have looked better vacant than they did with the seller's terrible furniture in them. It's just inevitable. But if there's really weird rooms or rooms where people think they're small, but they're not small because of the way that they're laid out, sometimes I would. But no, for me, a vacant home just has to have impeccable walls and carpet or flooring, because that's really all people are seeing.
So here's another thing. No curtains is better than awful curtains.
Yeah.
I've had stagers tell me that. Take it all down. It looks more contemporary and clean.
Yeah, especially like the old style, drapes.
So there's little things like that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So that's okay. Megan actually asked the question that I was going to, so thank you for that. The listing side timeline, is that pretty much the same timeline for a buyer?
Great question. Yes and no. What the difference between the buyer, if you're talking about the buyer, like for instance, what you had said earlier, that this person's looking to buy in January or February. One thing that is the most important thing to explain to a buyer when you're talking about timeline is that they may find the perfect home for them and they may get it. They may put in an offer and it may be agreed upon, but you have to set the expectation that that seller may need potentially 60 days of occupancy. And you need to plant that seed and talk about that up front, right? Because some buyers think if you waited till the last minute or you waited to negotiations, they would say, wait a second, I close on the home and I don't get the keys.
So
right?
let's say they want to move into a place on June 15th.
Exactly. I want the keys. Worst case scenario, I want to be in. Now, again, this is a scenario, so it's not necessarily set in stone, but let's play that out. June 15th, I want the keys. So moving backwards, let's say the sellers do want 60 days of occupancy. What does that farthest day out to close mean then?
Go ahead, Matt. I'll type the dates in.
It means what, guys? It means April 15th, right? So if we closed on April 15th, right, and the sellers needed 60 days of occupancy, that would take to June 15th to me, like, get the keys.
Well, correct. Right? Which means
which means April 15th closing, which means how long does it take to close a transaction? 35, 45 days. So let's say 45 days. That means I've got to have my offer accepted in writing March 5th or March 1st.
And how long does it take to find a great place, Matt, in this environment?
I mean, you could be beat up on offers. I mean, it could take 30 days. At least. let's say I have everything in order and I'm able to submit it, get my pre-approval, and it takes me, let's say 45 days to do all of that, right? 30 days of looking. We would need to start our search when? January 15th.
Right? You see how it creeps up so fast?
Does this make sense to everyone? So I speak with the lender right after the new year. I do whatever I need to do to get a pre-approval, right? We sit down, have a buyer consultation so my agent really understands my needs and my wants. They educate me on the market and what's going on. We talk about my most important things. We start looking at listings. Then we go out and start touring, and we may get beat out. We may lose 1, 2, 3 offers. That's unfortunately the reality of what's happening now. But as long as we get our offer accepted on a property that we find by March 1st, this could be a realistic time frame. So I want to move in the summer. I got to start right after the new year. How crazy is that?
And in this case, the paperwork, the contracts would be signed January 15th. So before you even start searching for the houses for this buyer.
Yeah, for sure.
I would send them a buyer's agency agreement to get signed the moment I sent them to a lender to get pre-approved, or the time I have a buyer consultation. I'd take advantage of the period of time around Christmas when people are kind of at home or whatever. Let's Zoom, let's FaceTime, let's have a buyer consultation. Let's talk about the process and what I'm going to do. And okay, I'm going to slide you over this agreement, so I can get to work for you, and just sign that when you're ready.
So technically, I already should have done that.
It's never too late. But
Okay.
does this make you understand that? Yeah. Does this make you understand that how that kind of time frame can work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this
And I'll
is all
say this.
saying that her credit is, easily repairable. I mean, this could be
Right.
something that could take her 6 months to fix. Do you know what I mean? So,
and maybe it does, but you still have a signed buyer's agency agreement. Now, one thing that I want to mention in the buyer's realm that happens, it wouldn't happen with our preferred lenders, but I know it happens, is that they're a buyer and they say, they say, oh yeah, I'm buying a house, or I want to buy a house. I'm getting ready. I've talked to an agent. Oh, so you already have an agent? Okay, great. I have this friend. He's a mortgage guy. Oh, okay. I'll talk with him. Right. And then they talk with that mortgage guy. The mortgage guy goes, do you have an agent? Well, yeah, I've talked to, Angela. Oh, well, have you signed anything with her? No, I haven't. Okay. You got to use this guy. This is my go-to person. They're really awesome. Blah, 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 blah. That happens. And then all of a sudden you are SOL because they've signed with someone else. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So the sooner you can get an agreement signed, the better. All this makes sense, guys. Let's flip the script a little bit. What kind of, Megan, you'll know the answer to this question. What is everyone seeing every real estate agent doing right now? I'm seeing it in Facebook ads. I'm seeing it in Facebook posts. I'm seeing it in Insta stories. I'm seeing it in flyers and mailers. All of these agents are saying it's an incredible time to sell. Inventory's at an all-time low. It's a great time to get top dollar for your home, right? Is there anything about that that's not true? No. But what is the story that's telling?
It's saying that it's not a good time to buy.
Carson nailed it. It's if you're a seller, you're probably then going to become a buyer, right? Unless you're doing what? Moving out of state, deciding to rent for the rest of your life for a period of time, retiring on a boat and somewhere, moving into an assisted living for an older person, consolidating houses. Maybe you're working at 2 adults that own homes and you're consolidating into one and you're just going to sell and just move into the other one, right? Maybe I have a client that's moving back in with parents at like 40 years old. Weird, but it happens, right? There's people that aren't concerned about that. But I would argue to say majority, maybe 75% of sellers are then going to become a buyer. And if you're hammering this message of why it's such a great time to sell and that they're going to get top dollar and this low inventory and this and that, there's probably going to be people that are listening to that are thinking that what Carson just said. You're telling me it's a seller's market, and that's great if I'm a seller, but I'm then going to become a buyer, and that's, you just told me there's no houses in the market. Why would I want to buy?
Because you can get money really cheap to buy with.
Sure you can. But my point in saying this is that we have to be very careful with the message that we're saying. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. So what would someone say to that? Just someone give me a little script. Give me your little elevator spiel. Say, hey, that's great. I heard the market's really strong, but I'm going to buy a house after I sell this one. And that sounds really challenging right now. So I'm just going to stay put.
Right. And are you buying this home cash, or are you planning to take out a loan for it?
Oh yeah, we would use the equity from this house and put it down on the new home and get a mortgage for the balance.
Okay, so she would get a mortgage on it. And are you aware what's going on right now with interest rates?
Yeah, everyone says his super low. That's part of the reason why nothing's on the market. All these people are buying up.
Yeah, they are very low right now. And you know what happens is the Fed wants to sort of balance out the market. So, you know, when it's a good seller's market, they want to incentivize buyers. So they give them lower mortgage rates so it's easier for them to buy. And when it becomes a bit more of a buyer's market, the opposite happens. That's when they start raising interest rates again. And so, you know, really you can, still, if you have good credit, get a really good deal on a home. There's also a lot of options we have with off-market homes if we have difficulty finding something listed. Is that something that would work for you?
Yeah, Carson, that's part of my concern though, is that I need to sell my current home to buy a new one. I don't have the money saved to be able to buy a new one. So, if who's going to accept an offer? Well, for one, there's not a lot on the market. So let's assume we could even find a house.
Right.
If we found a house, I'm not going to be able to put an offer in a home, before I sell this home. Or if I do, it's got to be contingent on the sale of this home.
Yeah.
Who would accept that?
Right. No, that is a great question. And obviously having a contingent offer is one way that that does make your offer appear less strong. However, obviously if we can do other things to strengthen the offer, it could still get accepted. But we also have other options with occupancy. Are you aware of what that term means?
No.
So what occupancy means is after you accept an offer on your home and you close on the home, you continue living there and you would pay rent to the new owner for, you could do 30, 60, 90 days, however long we need really. And a lot of times, being such a strong seller's market, this really works in your favor both with selling and buying. I can't guarantee this will happen, but I've seen this with other offers get accepted. A lot of buyers, they'll say, we'll give you occupancy rent free.
Nice. Okay. Awesome job. Carson's good on this. He practices it. You can hear it in his voice. Awesome job, Carson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to volunteer? Come on, someone riff with me. All right. Who wants to play the seller, and I'll play the agent?
I can be a seller.
John, as I'm explaining to you right here, you have a beautiful condo in New Hudson. The inventory is incredibly low. There's not a lot on the market, which means that the buyers that are out there are scooping up the homes, which means that you're probably, if we price it right and we have it in show ready condition, we're going to get you top dollar for the home. How does that sound, John?
That sounds good, but since stuff is selling quickly, can I just, I think I want to ask a little bit more.
Okay.
Than what you're telling me.
You're throwing that one at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. In other words, you don't want to leave any money on the table?
No, we're moving out of state and I want to get as much out of this place as I can. So if I, the more money I can get, the better off it's going to help me when I get to where we're going.
Sure. Where are you going?
Probably North Carolina.
Awesome. When do you see yourself on the beach in North Carolina? What month would you like to be there?
Well, that's the other thing. We're really not in a hurry. I mean, if I can get what, if somebody makes me the right offer, I'm flexible on when I can leave.
Okay. So it's what you just said is not just the price. That's the most important thing to you.
Yeah, the price is the most important thing because
So-
I have flexibility on my time. So
okay. So if
price is utmost.
if someone showed up with a big sack of cash tomorrow, you could be out tomorrow.
It'd be tough, but I'd make it happen.
Okay. So realistically, you do need some time, but you want to make sure that you have the most amount of money possible that you net, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. Are you aware of what's going on in the market? We just talked about how quickly things are selling. I'm going to show you some statistics. So as you can see, overall, homes are selling very quickly. But as you can see, there's also homes that are leaving the market unsold. Why do you think that is, John?
I don't know. I just keep hearing about how fast everything's selling. So
Yeah.
that I don't know why anything would be sitting in this market.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. When we look at the stats of how quickly houses are selling, we're looking at just that, the houses that are selling. There's another piece of the puzzle, though. That is the houses that come onto the market and that don't get sold, that leave the market, kind of phantom listings. Does that make sense?
I guess so.
Yeah. So what I would like to show you here are homes that come on the market and then unfortunately don't get sold. Why would you think a house would come on the market and not sell, John, right now?
I have no idea because again, everything that I'm seeing, online and on TV it's just stuff is flying off the shelf. So
Sure.
I really have no idea. And I'll be honest with you, man, I really haven't been looking to see what's going on.
Sure.
It's just something we recently thought of putting our house up for sale. And so just going by what I've heard, on TV and seen online, I just think that, it shouldn't be a problem for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right that houses that sell are selling for top dollar overall. The thing that you have to remember is that not every house can sell for whatever a seller asks for, right? It has to be within the realm of what's going on in the market. Okay. So
Okay.
what I mean by that is we look at the actives, the pendings, and the solds. Okay. And then also what I just said referred to as the phantom listings, the properties that come on the market and don't sell. Most of the time, the properties that come on the market and don't sell, it's because of condition or price. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of times over enough time, you'll see those houses come back on the market at a better price or in better condition and eventually sell. Right. But what we're going to look at is the actives, the pendings, and the sold. The actives are our competition. These are houses that are on the market right now that other buyers are going to look at when they come to look at your home. Okay. The pendings are the properties that have gone under contract. These are properties that have beat us to a purchase agreement. They've gone on the market. They've gone under contract. Unfortunately, we do not know what they've sold at yet. But if we see things like low days on market, it's probably safe to assume they got near or close to asking price. Now, the most important thing to look at when we're comparing or pricing your home is the solds. Why do you think the most important thing when looking at the price value of your home is the sold homes?
Well, I guess it's just because that's what people actually bought them for.
You're exactly right. The solds are what buyers, other agents, and appraisers are using to justify your list price. Let me say that again. Realtors, appraisers, and other buyers are going to use to value your price. So when we see all of these houses sell for, let's say, $250,000, and you have a top-notch stellar home that's just impeccable, but it's priced at $270, what do you think buyers are going to say? Do you say they're going to say, no problem, I'll pay $270, right? They're going to say, I can afford $270, right? This house is really nice and there's not a lot on the market, but I can't justify $270 because nothing's sold above $250. So when I hear you say, I don't want to leave any money on the table, I completely agree. But one thing that we have going for us right now, because it is a seller's market, is that the market will not allow us to leave any money on the table. What do I mean by that? We price a house too high, it's going to sit. We're going to have to chip away at the price. If we price a house below market, we're going to get a ton of attention and it's going to be bid up to the market price. Or what I recommend is right in the middle. We price it right, not below market, not above market. We pre-market it. We know the marketing is working. We know it works because this is my marketing plan. This is everything that I do to get your house sold. We're going to expose it to all of the buyers and we're going to let them dictate the value of this home, which means if we price it at $250 and multiple people want it, not only are we going to get max dollar, but we're also going to get the best terms. And I know you said price is the most important thing to you, but wouldn't it be great to get the most amount and as far as money as well as the best terms?
I guess so.
Okay. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Sign here, 3 copies. You threw me for a loop there by moving out of state as opposed to being a buyer in today's market. But does everyone get the gist of it? Right? You're absolutely right though, John. That objection is the market, guys, when people say like I'm hearing, keep in mind they're hearing from other people like us. Right? Because everyone knows multiple agents. So when
they're crazy neighbors that don't know what they're talking about either.
When you talk about the message that we're putting out there, make sure that you are conveying a message which you can then defend, I guess you could say, or speak in realistic terms. I have a little story, quick little story. I've got a seller right now, and it's my only house sitting on the market right now. And we've been on the market for about 52 days. It's a cute house. It's on the water. It's probably priced a little high, right? But we had a lot of engagement on it and one lowball offer, and that's it. My seller, his motivation isn't huge. It doesn't have to be somewhere between a certain time frame or anything like that. He's moving on a family. So for him, same as John, most important thing is the most amount of money. Okay. Doesn't really care about terms, doesn't need occupancy, wants the most amount of money. Well, we got an offer the other day and it's contingent upon the buyers, the sale of the buyer's home. Right. So in other words, they wrote an offer contingent upon the sale of their existing home. They can't buy my home until they sell their home. Okay. What do you think? How do you think my seller responded to that? Anyone?
Well, they probably said no.
Why would he say no?
Well, because again, if the market's so strong, why should I accept this offer and then wait for this person to sell their house? And I don't know when they're going to sell their house.
Okay.
So why do I need to take this offer?
What if that buyer's?
I feel like your buyer, you mentioned that he's in no hurry and he wants the bottom line. So if they came in with a nice, strong offer with even possibly a appraisal guarantee to kind of bridge that worry gap, he doesn't mind waiting. So I think that you could definitely make a strong argument in their case to accept it, or at least make it look good.
Bingo. My seller said, if I get top dollar, I'll entertain this contingency. Now I'm going to counter the amount of time that they have to sell their home. And I want to protect myself to make sure I can accept a backup offer, yada, yada. But yeah, if this person is willing to pay top dollar, I'm willing to entertain. Now, furthermore, what's the home that they're going to try to sell? Where is that? Will it be priced at? Right. All of these things that factor in the decision, right? Henry's been down this path. Okay. So what I was saying is that sorry, I'm just trying to go back to gallery view. For my seller, as long as he got the price that he wanted, he was willing to entertain this. Okay. And I tell this story to have you kind of understand from the buyer's perspective, right? If I'm speaking with a buyer who says, okay, I've got this house, I know it's going to sell. Great. The market's, nothing's on the market, whatever. It's a great time to buy too. I get it, but I'm leery. I'm leery about then becoming a buyer in this market. It's not crazy to think that you could potentially get an offer accepted contingent upon the sale of your current home. Now, is it going to be on the property that just hit the market that's an absolute cupcake that is priced right and shows well and everything, right? If I'm a seller and I receive 5 offers, one's cash, 4 are conventional, all of them are non-contingent, one of them's contingent. What are the chances that I'm going to potentially accept that offer if I just went on the market day one? Probably not super high, right? But if I've been on the market for a little bit, or if waiting isn't important to me and getting the most amount of money is, right? And the highest offer is that contingent one, right? Does that make sense? Why that seller might consider that? That's why my seller's considering it. And I know that there's other sellers out there. So as much as we talk about the market being crazy hot and all these houses selling, look on the MLS, guys. There are properties that are sitting. And it's probably because of price. It's probably because of condition. But there are opportunities out there that aren't those super crazy multiple offer situations that sell day one that your buyers could potentially go to. Makes sense? I'm feeding you a lot, I know.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
What's the other angle potentially? I'm meeting with a buyer, or a seller who's going to be a buyer, and the buyer says, I'm not finding anything right now. No, there's nothing on the market that I want to buy. So I don't want to put my house on the market and then become homeless. What's the other play that you might kind of talk about and say as an agent that you'll do for them? Well,
Is there a neighborhood that you really want to key in on?
Yeah, there's 5.
5? Okay, let's do this. Tell you what, let me contact people in those 5 neighborhoods. If we can narrow it down to 3 or 2, that might be a little bit better. But you know what?
What do you mean, John? You're going to contact them? You're going to find a house that's not on the market right now?
I will do whatever it takes to find you a home.
Okay,
that's what I have to do. I've already done it for another. Buyer. They were looking at one neighborhood. So I will do, because you never know.
Yeah,
there might be somebody who's thinking about it, and they may be thinking, I'm not going to wait till spring, but we might be able to negotiate it. Plus, the nice thing about this, Matt, is the fact that if I find a home that's not on the market, you don't have any other people you're competing against. So that's to your benefit also.
Yeah. Does that make sense, guys? Like, I know Phil, you did this, right? You had a buyer was looking at a neighborhood, found a house, missed out on that house, knew that they wanted to be in that neighborhood. You started door knocking and said, hey, I've got a buyer, a real buyer. I'm not pretending.
Right.
And what happened with it?
So I'm actually I need to talk to you after. I've got a listing question. I'm going to list it Friday.
Okay. So in other words, you found a house, your buyers didn't want to buy that one, but they said, we do want to sell, and you got a listing out of it.
Right.
I mean, that's huge. That's awesome.
Got a guy 5 doors down. I'm talking to him. He's thinking of listing also. So
awesome. That's the ancillary business off of it. That's something to prospect about. And in fact, Phil actually a business out of, which is amazing. But what John brought up is, I'm going to, Mr. Buyer, I understand that you can get top dollar for your house, and you're confident in my ability to sell it, as well as negotiate the best terms possible for you, giving you such things as occupancy to minimize the chance of a double move. But if I understand you correctly, your biggest fear isn't selling, it's buying a home, specifically finding a home that works for you in this low inventory market and competing with other buyers, right? Yes. Okay. So you've already looked at houses that are on the market right now. Yeah, we've been scrolling every day. Okay, awesome. And as you know, new houses come available every day. So tomorrow your dream house might pop up, right? Understand that. But also, let's pretend it doesn't, right? But you have neighborhoods, you have an area that you want to be in. In fact, I'd love to be on this street. In fact, we always love that house. If they ever went for sale, we would buy it. Well, let's do this. Let's not wait for it to go to sale. Let me go work for you, and I'll go find out if they would be willing to sell. And if so, under what terms? Let me put all that together. because I'm willing to do that. I'm not the type of passive agent that's just going to wait for other homes pop on the market. I want to go to work for you and find you a home. Not only is that going to allow us to negotiate the best terms to line everything up, but it's going to put you in a situation where you're not competing with other offers. Perhaps the most important thing for them is that they don't want any showings because COVID. They don't want people coming through their home. So they would welcome someone coming through, right? They don't care about leaving a few bucks on the table. They just want the ease, right? That's what we can provide them. Does this make sense, guys? Does this give you, if in this scenario, you then can go prospect a neighborhood or 2 neighborhoods or 5 neighborhoods, like I told John, right? And say, I've got a buyer, a real buyer. In fact, here's my signed buyer's agency agreement and their price point and their pre-approval letter. I'm not bullshitting you, because there's a lot of agents that bullshit that. And you could say, you know, I'm looking. In worst case, they say no, but you add them to your database. Best case, they say yes, come on in. Or they say, yes, your buyer looks at it, your buyer says, that's not the right house for me, but you've wet their whistle, and those sellers say, I do want to sell. And Matt, you seem like a really proactive agent, hitting the pavement and calling me and flyering me and mailing me. I'd like to talk to you about listing my house, right? All of this stuff is good stuff. But that, again, goes back to the role of you trying to be proactive for your client to make sure that they understand that not only is it an incredible time to sell, but it also could be a great time to buy. But they have to be working with the right agent, one that's going to be able to line everything up, to work on their behalf, to hustle, right? Does this sound complicated? There's a lot of moving parts to it. Buying and selling simultaneously, there's a lot of moving parts to it. But I'll tell you what, this is where you make your money, guys. 3% in a sell, 3% in a buy, put it all together. Super happy clients that are clients for life because you lined it all up. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
And it's only one lead gen opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, absolutely. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
A couple things, actually. I know we're pressed for time. I have another Zoom at 12:30.
For those of you have to drop off. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got it.
Is there any way that maybe later today or sometime you and I could maybe go over the buyer side, like you be the agent and I be the buyer, just kind of role play what you just did with John being the seller?
Sure.
And then
you guys should, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, does other people see benefit in this? I'm happy to do group role play. Yeah.
You guys should also group up together, partner with somebody, have a buddy and role play with each other. Like Angela should pick somebody and you guys call each other 3 times a week and just do it. That's where you're going to get good, right? Repetitively with each other, because you guys all need the practice. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Sometimes I feel like I'm at a loss for words, and Fatin and I were actually going to try and get together last week, but our schedules couldn't coordinate. So we are planning to practice to do some scripting. But I think, and not that I wouldn't appreciate somebody else's help, but kind of somebody who has been in the business for a while, you know what I'm saying? So like not someone that is equally new as me. You know, that's why I kind of reached out to you guys, because you have the words and I don't.
I would argue, though, I'm not trying to dismiss you. I would just argue, though, that that's what scripts are for.
Yes.
When you're at a loss for words, read the script.
The words are not going to come to you by listening to someone else say them. They're going to come to you by practicing them yourself. So before we schedule anything, I want you to look at the scripts book. It's in this shared drive,
Yep.
Right? There's a whole bunch of them. There's also a bajillion online. There's tons of YouTube videos. Do this. And this is something a lot of teams require. They actually have to write it out or type out the script, right? I remember in college, I would write notes and then I'd go back and I'd type them, and that would help like my mind internalize them. So write out or type the script, right? If you don't like it, doesn't sound like you, change it a little bit or combine a couple. There's no right or wrong in this, right? And then put it in a document and then practice it out loud. It's amazing how you read things and you think you got it, but then coming out, it just sounds like hot garbage. because you have to practice it, right? It's like another language. You have to practice it out loud. You have to hear yourself. You have to stumble. That will get you there, not just hearing them, because you can hear my words anywhere. YouTube, like I'm not the smartest guy in the block. You can hear people say them. You just have to write them down and then be able to say them yourself. And it will sound robotic. It will feel awkward, right? It's not until you consciously or unconsciously are competent with them where it flows just seamlessly. You have to get over that awkward hump.
Okay. And then one other thing.
Yeah.
Because I just, like I said, I contacted her on Tuesday, just left her a voicemail.
Yeah.
And kind of, I don't remember who said it earlier, but she didn't want it, being a new agent, we don't want to seem too pushy, but we don't want to wait too long to contact them where they forget about us. You know what I mean? So once a week, do you think it's okay? Because she said contact her as often as is necessary, but I don't want to push on her either. So do you think if I contact her like the beginning of next week and try to get a buyer agency agreement signed and just kind of ask her about her pre-approval and, ask her if she talked to Brent, do you think that's appropriate?
Yeah, I would say, hey, I would reach out and say, hey, me again. I just want to make sure that we get something on the schedule for to go over the next steps, right? I want to get something on the schedule to go over the next steps. Yep. So, a lot of people have availability between Christmas and New Year's. So if that's the case, let me know a day and time that works for you. I'll follow up. Have Merry Christmas. And
you can call Brent. Call Brent and say, hey, have you heard from her yet?
Yes. A great mortgage lender is going to work with you hand in hand. They're going to say, I spoke with them. This is their apprehensions. Wow, they didn't tell me that. Okay, great. I'm going to reach out.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about reaching out to Brent anyways, just for my own, just to answer some finance, because I'm not a mortgage person. I mean, I know what I needed to know for the test, and that's about it.
Yep.
So just to kind of touch base with him, if he can, talk to me for 20, 30 minutes and kind of give me like a little 411, rundown real quick.
Yeah.
So I was planning on reaching out to him.
Yeah. We do have, I think it was a few months ago, we've got a mortgage 101.
I'm looking for it. I was looking for it on the date yesterday.
Okay.
Because someone else asked about maybe having that as one of our skill sessions.
Cool.
And I don't think I uploaded it, but it was a couple days before he got hurt with his hunting, because I went looking for it. So I'm going to put that up soon.
Okay. Awesome. And that was kind of like a mortgage 101. It certainly didn't cover everything, but it was a good session. So watch that. Yeah. So rewatch that, and to those of you that haven't watched that. So. Okay. Awesome. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. Remember, it's all about working backwards, understanding from your clients what their expectations are, and not telling them otherwise, but just bringing clarity to it, making them self-realize. And if they're a visual person, make it visual, right? I love working with dates, and I love, looking at best case, but also really realistic case scenario. And I'm pretty confident that anyone that tells you that's going to do anything in the next 6 months, you can justify, the action steps that really need to be made now. Sound good? Questions, comments, concerns?
I have one question.
Great.
Before I forget. So one client, she got a pre-approval through Quicken Loans, but she changed her mind and she wants to go with a credit union. Now, in your advice, which one is better? Are credit unions better? Or
pluses and minuses.
It's
really
the lesser of two evils there. Who's the tallest midget? I would try to speak with them. Well, I would say, first of all, Mr. Client, what was it about Quicken Loans which made you go to a credit union? So obviously there was something.
She felt like at first that they were very helpful, and they were like giving her all this information, and then they kind of just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So she felt like, okay, well, you're not getting my business.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I'm thinking about going with a credit union. And I'm like, oh, snap, I don't know anything about credit unions. So that was another thing. I'm like,
there's pros and cons of everybody. But if they're working with a credit union, are you going to actually have a banker? Right? Is there a banker that you're going to work with, or are you just a number? Because people at credit unions, like a teller can help loans at a credit union. Right. You don't have to be like a licensed banker.
Oh, I see. So you're
so-
not a licensed banker.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot more to it than just the interest rate. So yeah, if you can get a great rate and a great program and your great communication, a credit union it's not necessarily bad. They only have products that they offer, right? So
Okay.
unlike Brent at Silverline, who's a broker, he can get products from Quicken, he can get products from Chase, he can get products from all these different places because they're a broker. A credit union is only going to be able to offer you the few products that they have. So for me, I want to shop my options, but I don't want to get pre-qualified at 8 lenders. So I'm going to go with a broker. Right.
So that's what I should advise her, is to go with a broker, because see, this is all also new to me.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I'm trying to give her the best advice, but also not seem too much of a rookie. You know what I mean? You have to like sort of fake it till you make it. But I also am concerned, and I want her to make the best financial decision for herself.
Yeah.
Because the best thing that I can provide for myself, for her being a newer agent, is just good service. You know, I'm still learning this stuff as I'm going, but if I can give you the right direction and just provide good service, then I would feel confident. So what if I get with you later today, maybe send you an email, and if you wouldn't mind, maybe just giving me some sort of direction, because I would really love to advise her the best way I know how.
Yeah, not a problem.
Agree.
I would say there's nothing wrong with talking to a couple of lenders. In fact, I'm glad that you're exploring some options. I also have our in-house preferred lender I would love to set you up with. By no means are you obligated to work with them, but it does make sense to understand your options and why. And then you let Brent or someone from Silverline tell them what makes them special. And you're not telling them who to use or who not to use. You're just telling them that my job is to make sure that I help you in any way that I can. I'm not the mortgage guy. I don't know all about the products. I'm not the expert, but what I do is what I do is partner with professionals, and I've partnered with them. Our office has partnered with them. We've had lots of clients, in fact, agents in our office who have used them for their own refinances. Talk to them, see what options they have. At the end of the day, I don't care who you use, really.
Okay. No, definitely. And I feel that after I meet with Brent or whoever the case may be, I would just contact her and let her know, like, I've explored some options. Here was what I found. Just wanted to give you like a list, and you go ahead and just make the best decision for yourself. If you have any questions, just feel free to contact me.
That's it. That's it.
Don't forget about Keller Mortgage.
Oh. Keller.
And DFCU Financial is a good credit union too, because they give you cash back on your mortgage per like.
Oh, okay. Who was that again? I'm sorry.
DFCU Financial. It's a good credit union too.
Let me play devil's advocate, guys, though.
Okay.
You will confuse the heck out of a client if you give them too many options.
Yeah.
You want you still want to be driving the car. So
I mean, it sounds to me like Quicken and all those big guys are a machine and you're a number, like the big banks, right?
Yep.
On the other hand, credit unions are really tiny, really isolated, and you don't have to be licensed. If you get a broker, you're in the middle. You've got somebody who has access to tons of different products to pick the best thing for you, but they're small enough. They're like probably like small businesses, so to speak, where you get a lot of good customer service and interaction.
Okay.
Done.
Just done. Just keep it simple.
Right?
Keep it simple. Yeah. Broker right in the middle, and they have access to every single basically aspect of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt.
hey guys, yes.
Stay on for a second when everybody jumps off.
All right.
Thanks.
Appreciate you guys.
Alrighty,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you so much
Guys,
for all
I
the
got a
information, guys.
question that doesn't deal with this topic. Can you guys stay on, or do you want me to call you, or what would you like me to do?
No,
A second with
I got something after this that I have to go to. So
I have one quick thing for Matt too. Sorry. Are you able to get together later this afternoon or no?
no, not today. Nope.
Okay. All right. Maybe tomorrow. Are you available?
Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, before 3.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
I have the forms from 11 to 12. So
Okay.
would like after that work?
Yes. Shoot me a text, would you?
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks. See
Cool.
you guys later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
right.
Phil, what's up?
So I'm ready to put my listing in the MLS and get the lockbox and all that. I contacted the lockbox people, and she said, well, your office has 60 lockboxes office. You need to contact another agent. And I'm like, that's not my problem.
That's
Yeah,
right.
no, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. A lot of agents have. The consensus is that we do have lockboxes because we have one of the largest offices in the state. So
Right.
There's no agents that have free lockboxes. I need one.
I was going to call her back today, and I sent her an email in response. I said, we have over 300 agents. And I said, I don't know any of the agents you listed. She listed all the ones that have them out.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So-
I don't mean to be short with you, Phil, but that's as matter of fact as you need to be with them. You know what I mean?
I'll call her today.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Okay. All right. Yes. And if need be, bring Pete into the conversation. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
No problem. Thanks, buddy.